Whilst you were within the experiment,
No.
married to Nelly,
Can I see that?
Yeah.
you were on a dating profile.
And I wasn't, because I got my phone out during her friends coming over, and I showed them me putting my number in and it coming up saying my account has been removed.
I really want to pretend and appear as though I'm surprised that two couples went home, but I'm not surprised, really, at the end of the day, if we're going to be honest. April and Leo, whatever happened between the two of them, it was never going to work. Yes, April is making allegations that this man was putting on a persona. We can never tell. We'll only find out once the show ends. But at the end of the day, it's to be expected. People want their best self out there. Nobody ever goes on a reality TV saying, I want to show that I'm a hot mess outside of Julia Ruth, but that's a story for another day. And then Steven and Nelly, it was a matter of time. I am sort of conflicted when it comes to Nelly and the way she presented all the information she did. She should have left with the spotless image that she came in. It felt like she was going to the gutter with Steven, and I personally feel it wasn't necessary. She didn't need to go that far, so I can't wait to see what happens. Anyway, hey there, thanks for stopping by. To go, Valerie. I'm so sorry my reviews are 3, 4, 5 days late. I've been on holiday, I'm back from holiday, and here we go. Anyway, so in this episode I'll be reviewing Married at First Sight UK, Season 10, Episode 29. So we start off with the couples back from Homestays, and everyone is reflecting on their journey. They're reflecting on the sort of the trials and tribulations of Homestays. And more or less the information that was hashed out in the sort of first 5-10 minutes was rehashed at the commitment ceremony. So there's no point in going into great detail about every single couple and the struggles they were facing. Anyway, obviously the biggest thing was the fallout for Nelly and Steven and the issue that they had in regards, the dating app, and the fact that when they came back, they were in separate apartments. Same goes for Leo and April. They stayed in separate apartments. I think they just came so that they could just say, no, we're leaving, and that was it. So we have the couples turn up for the commitment ceremony. Everyone is excited. Obviously, there are those two couples that are still sort of having a tough time. It's revealed that Ashley and Grace didn't come back together, and they didn't have their homestays together at the same time. So I wonder whether they were being kept on the show so that they could turn up at the final vows and just say no, because otherwise there's nothing else left to that marriage. So we have the experts reveal that it's the final commitment ceremony, and the first couple up is Davide and Kia. Davide and Kia, obviously they had a good partner swap. They had a semi-good sort of homestay. Their issue came apart when they clashed in the cafe because they were put in that small little room with them cats. And I've said this before, I would have walked out as soon as I eyeballed those cats. So I'm not surprised that Kia, stayed for as long as he could, and then at the end of the day he left. Kia said, he left, he went back to his apartment. David felt abandoned because he's got abandonment issues. He felt like Kia shouldn't have just left him. There was an issue with conversation, with communication in regards when they were overwhelmed. I think it was them against production, and then it became each other, sort of David and Kia individually against production, and they couldn't reunite to sort of tag team the production, and this is why they fell out. Anyway, they said their family and friends really loved them as a couple. They love the qualities they bring out of each other, and I can tell that they're smitten because Kia is a totally different person from the person we saw on wedding day when he was having that meltdown and David had to call him out. They both say they're in this happy space. They make each other calmer. They've chosen to stay. Nobody's surprised. Let us be for real. Nobody's surprised. Hooray. Next up is Leah and Lee. Leah and Lee, for me, are a couple that I think is on the show just to represent the cause. They are there to be the lesbian couple on the show, as far as I'm concerned at this point, because there's no reason as to why they should be continuing with this marriage. There is conversations about Lee saying, she struggled with Leah and the partner swap. She wanted to know whether Leah had been flirting with Leisha. And it's like, seriously, it's not that deep. It's either you trust your person or you don't. There's no need for this back and forth. There's no need for all these conversations that are taking place. Obviously, Leah felt like she was cornered because as soon as she walked into the apartment, all she was asked was, did you flirt? Did you do this? Did you do this? Did you do this? It turns out Lee has insecurities, and those sort of resurfaced after partner swap, and she sort of began to interrogate Leah, and Leah felt some type of way about it. They spoke about the incident where Leah apparently was speaking to another girl and didn't introduce the girl to Lee. And so Lee felt like there was more to that conversation. However, although they started their homestays separately, it seems sitting down with Leah's family was able to pacify Lee. Do I think so? I don't know. I want to be honest. I want to sort of see the good in everyone. So I hope that that helped. Obviously, there were the ups and downs of the homestay. They went to Lee's place. There was the conversation in front of the friend. And the friend was sort of saying to Lee, at this point, if you two cannot be in the space where you're comfortable and you're happy, then it's time to leave. I think they should have left. But I think production encouraged them to stay, and this is why they stayed. They both chose to stay. Am I surprised? No. I think everyone at this point is just staying until the very end to see it through and get as much clout as they can. Otherwise, some of these marriages should have gone down into the dump, and I give a lot of kudos to those that decided to call it quits. You then have Reese and Leisha. Well, their homestays, their partner swaps, there weren't really any issues because Reese was with Grace and they really had to mind his P's and Q's, otherwise Grace would have lashed out. And Leisha was with Leah and they seem to have a great time. So they speak about the family. Leisha says her family really loved Reese and they felt like he was the best thing since sliced bread. But there was a worry that he was not as into it as she is. She came in at 100. Let's be for real. She came in at 100. Her sister was wishing luck to the man that she was married to. So the idea and the audacity to be offended that Reese is not at the same space, I do not get it. They knew that Reese was never going to move at the same space as Leisha. So for them to be offended that, Reese is lagging back, I don't get it. I'm happy that Reese said I could fake my feelings and say I'm in love, but I don't want to do that. I really like her. I enjoy spending time with her, and this is where we are. There was conversations about mixed messaging. They have discussed children, and so I don't know where to take this because you have Leisha saying she wants reassurance from Reese, but Reese at the same time is saying he is not in for the theatrics. And the moment the theatrics start, he's out the door. So it's up to Leisha to decide, does she want to be in this marriage with this man or does she want to keep it stepping? And she has to choose that for herself. So I really love it. I am happy they both chose to stay. Am I surprised? No. We have Abby and John. Abby and John are the next power couple besides Kia and David because they had partner swap. And I'm happy that John said because of his partner swap with Kia, he was able to realize that, yes, it's important to have long-term goals, but also enjoy the moment, enjoy the space you're in. He reveals that he told Abby he loves her and she said she loves him back. Abby was happy that for the first time in her life, her mom approves of the partner that she has. Her mom is happy that she's with this guy and they can't see a future for her. I think they are the poster children for Married at First Sight this season, if we are being for real. I think Abby and John are the poster children for the Married at First Sight franchise this season. So I'm not surprised that they both chose to stay. They've been smooth sailing since day one, so I'm not surprised. April and Leo. April was putting on a persona as far as I'm concerned because the long face, I don't get it. Was she forced to come for this commitment ceremony? Was she trying to sort of appear as though she's not taking any joy in the situation? I do not get it. She was very upset. You had Leo say he had this partner swap with Rebecca. She validated him. She made him feel wanted. She made him feel cared for. And she made him realize that he didn't need to change himself for anybody else. And he had been doing this for the longest time with April. And so it was important to him that he was with someone who valued him for who he is. April then turned around and said, his friends told me that he's putting on a persona. This is not how he normally speaks. This is not how he normally behaves. So she doesn't understand why he is being the man that he's being. And I don't get it. I understand that people go on reality TV and have a persona or a character that they want to play out, and they sort of move in a way that portrays them in the best light. So I get that and I understand that. But at the same time, I don't know how to feel in regards, the whole situation with the two of them. Do I think they were an ideal match? Yes. Do I think they had a great time on their honeymoon? Yes. But something must have happened that suddenly took things left. Is it because April saw the other husbands and decided that maybe they would make better partners? I think so. Do I think April, if she had the opportunity, she would have gone with Steven? Yes, I think so. But I think Steven wasn't as interested, or Steven had a lot of sort of issues with him. That's when she realized that yes, Leo wasn't the guy for her, but Steven wasn't also the guy for her. So she was in no man's land whereby she couldn't find a guy that she liked. And so this is why she was in this sour place. They both chose to leave. I'm not surprised. I really am not surprised. Yes, they spoke about going for homestays and how April's family was able to realize that, he wasn't the guy for her. As I said in my previous review, I think April just wanted her family to be on TV. And once that was done, she was ready to pack up and leave. That's the impression that I get. I'm really conflicted when it comes to Rebecca and Bailey. Anyway, they're the next couple up. They say that they had a great homestay, but their problem was that they struggled because of the issue in regards where they would live after they said yes on final vows. And so Rebecca was saying she felt sort of pressured to make the decision to move and be with Bailey. And so she didn't know how they were going to navigate that, because they were happy, but they didn't know whether they were going to move close to one another or whether they were going to stay where they are at the moment. And so for me, I'm a bit conflicted, because these two people on wedding day, Rebecca appeared as though she couldn't be asked when it came to Bailey. But suddenly they found a common ground and they seemed to be doing very well, and they seem to be progressing very well in this marriage. So the idea that homestays is the time they've had to revisit this doesn't make sense, because her argument is she doesn't want to move him away from his daughter, but at the same time she can't see herself living without him. And it's like, this is a topic that the two of you should have addressed way, way, way in advance before you got to expressing I love you. And so the idea that you got to I love you, but still haven't managed to navigate or come up with a solution of where you're going to live doesn't make sense. They spoke about living halfway sort of from where they live at the moment. But then Rebecca was saying that, on the other hand, she can't see herself having children away from her support system, her family, because they would be able to sort of help her raise her children. And it's like, I have a feeling that these two people decided to put on, the happy couple for the show. And now that the show is coming to an end, they're looking for an excuse as to why their marriage or their relationship didn't work out. Because throughout the experiment, they've been pivoting. Every time there's been an issue with the two of them, they've always found a way to pivot, to find something else that they can do that can help them in their relationship. So the idea that suddenly they're in this space whereby they're struggling in where they're going to live, they're struggling in how they're going to navigate that while he's still able to see his children, doesn't make sense to me. It's not like even if they lived in the same town, Rebecca would be able to see her family every single day. So the idea that suddenly this is a deal breaker, I don't get it. It looks like it's an excuse for them to say no on final vows. They both chose to stay. Am I surprised? No. They were always going to stay in the experiment, regardless of what was going on in their relationship. They were always going to stay in the experiment. So I'm not surprised that they both chose to stay. They're going to stay till the very end, because that's how they've branded themselves as a couple. Lastly is Steven and Nelly. We have Nelly sort of begruntled. She brings up the fact that she had told Steven that she wouldn't be happy for him to cook anything for April because he hadn't done the same for her. So the idea that he did that and he served her breakfast in bed, she couldn't understand that. I have a feeling there was a bit of interest in between April and Steven, but sadly Steven's bad qualities sort of far outweighed his positives when it comes to April, and this is why she chose to say no to him. I think had things worked out, she would have left Leo in a rush to go back to Steven, and so she left Steven because she felt like things weren't working out, or there was no possibility that they could make it work after the experiment. That's the impression that I get. We then have the conversations about the homestay, the fact that Steven didn't come to the homestay with her. She wanted him to meet her family. He didn't come to Manchester with her, but then she found out that he was on a dating app. That became a kerfuffle because you had everybody chiming in. The experts were shocked. You had Nelly come with receipts. I don't think Nelly needed to go that far because it felt like she was sinking to the gutter. It felt like she was going to tear him down as much as she could just so she could feel better because he had lied to her. I feel like she should have just stopped and said, you know, things didn't work out. I found out this is what he was doing, and so I'm happy to move on. The likes of Kia was laughing hysterically because Kia obviously had that situation with Steven at the start of the experiment. So I think he's always had it for Steven and was waiting for Steven's downfall. The experts were shocked. You had Paul asking to see the receipts. You had everybody else trying to explain to Steven that you're verified because you had facial recognition. You used your face as your identity, so you can't say this is fake. For the experts to say you need to report this because this is fraud. Steven sadly had no excuse. He said he was in love with her or he liked her before and he was attracted to Nelly, but now he's not. I feel like Steven had initial attraction, or Nelly sort of presented it as what he would have liked on day one, but then things gradually went downhill after the honeymoon and they never recovered. And so I'm not surprised that this is where they are. I hope, if nothing else, Nelly does a lot of work on herself. That way she can heal, and in her next relationship, she doesn't need as much assurance from her partner as she needed from Steven. Steven was not the guy for her. As she says, her guy is out there. I hope she finds him. They both chose to leave. Am I surprised? No, they were going to leave because they weren't working. It was only a matter of time. So I'm happy that the two of them did the decent thing and they chose to leave. I can't wait to see what happens next. Anyway, thanks guys for watching. Please don't forget to like, share, comment, and subscribe. Click the link in my video to watch my review from episode 28. Bye guys.